Hi, Joy. I'm good.
Good, and welcome everyone back to another episode of Flipping the Script with Joy and Becky. And this is episode 11.
Yep.
Yeah. We're here to share our truth. Remember, just take what resonates and leave the rest. Please correct us or add to us. You know, we're not perfect, so if we're missing something, let us know. Also, we don't want to get into debates though. Okay. So we want to educate, be corrected, but not debate, if that makes sense with everyone. Anyways.
Yeah, this is just our experience, our theories.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that we're 100% right. It just,
Yeah.
we like to shoot out ideas and things that we think of. And, the thing is that my truth is always changing, depending on what I'm learning or what I'm discerning and what comes up. And so something that may resonate with me in one moment, the next moment I might find, what, that doesn't resonate with me anymore. And so it was true then, but it's not true now.
Or
And
we're leveling up and we're growing. And as we level up, certain things just no longer resonate. Like I've outgrown teachers. No offense or anything. It's not wrong or bad or anything. It just is. There's nothing wrong with that. So, I mean,
yeah, I had to have my experience where I was learning from others, and now I'm in the time where I'm learning from myself and going inside and following my own intuition. And so, I like to listen to other people's experiences. I like to see what they have learned, but I also like to. My favorite thing is take what applies and leave the rest. Take what resonates, and what doesn't, you don't have to take it. You know what I mean? That doesn't have to be. That doesn't have to apply to you. But yeah. That's part of having that open mind.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I apologize. I am a little bit stuffy today. I've had 2 Reiki sessions in the last 2 days, so I've got some stuff coming up with my throat chakra, and I had a fork tuning Reiki session with forks on Sunday, and it really broke up a lot of that masculine father wound energy. And so on yesterday, when I had my second Reiki session, it was kind of stuck in my chest because it didn't know where to go. Like it broke up out of my shoulder and on my right side, and my throat, because a lot of that was suppressed over years and years of suppression with the masculine energy. And so yesterday it went into my shoulder, so they kind of pushed it out, and then the tears came. So now it's coming out of my tear ducts, coming out of my nasal passage, and so I'm a little bit stuffy. Ascending, I'm rising and I'm working through it, but that's part of the process. Is we're not necessarily sick. We're moving through dense energies that have kept us sick, and so when it comes out, we think, okay, I'm sick. And my guys told me, don't take anything. You don't need to take anything. The only thing that I've done is load up on oranges, and I made my extra oranges in my smoothie today. So I got that natural vitamin C. I didn't take a vitamin because sometimes, we don't know exactly what's in everything. And they just said, you don't need to do anything that is not natural today, just completely natural. And then I got the message that I need to put some turmeric paste on my forehead and open that up. So that's something that I'm working on myself on decalcifying and my pineal area to keep that, fluoride free.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going through a lot of healing, physical healing, a lot of it coming out. So if I am sneezing or coughing or dripping all over the phone, that is explaining why.
It's funny because we're getting so much energy from the sun right now, and literally the atmosphere is I don't know what atmosphere we have left with all of the flares we have. But anyways, we're getting all of that energy. It's coming directly to us. And so a lot of people are getting flu symptoms and Ascension symptoms already. So you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just kidding. You were already clearing. So, but yeah, to get up and that's
it's got to break up that dense energy, and that light's got to get in there. And that's part of the Reiki process is, breaking it up, but then adding the light, taking out what's not working, and then making sure that you add the light in there. So my own Reiki healing and what I do with myself is I spend a lot of time in the sun, taking in the sun, the light codes, the DNA upgrades. And so that breaks a lot of it up too. But make sure that you're taking in sun appropriately. I don't suggest sunscreen. I suggest taking intervals, taking
Yep.
breaks, wearing the appropriate clothing. um just make sure that you're in, if your skin tone does not work well with sun, take it in small amounts. Even with the shade, as long as you have some kind of sunlight on you, you know what I mean, like coming through, even with a little bit of shade, it's still good. Even just to have my windows open and have my door open and not have direct sunlight, just have that sun coming in the house, it feels so much better than having all the windows closed, having it dark, and having this cave. We've been in a cave, like the allegory of the cave I've talked about before. We've been in a cave for so long. It's like we have to gradually adjust to the sunlight. But then once you're in it, it's like you just don't want to get out of it.
It's awesome, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the sun heals you, in case y'all didn't know. And the solar flare, I mean, really shouldn't be feared. Okay, so when we're
Yeah.
talking about solar flares in the atmosphere and this and that, it's all energetic. It's not like what Hollywood is portrayed. So you
Yeah,
can
it's not going to be the War of the Worlds or the
uh,
where everything shuts
2012.
down.
What else?
It's
It's not like
apocalypse.
that, y'all. Okay.
Yeah, I literally see the solar flare. That I can't remember the one movie. It's got Tom Cruise in it, and they like all the electronics get fried, and they're like trying to find each other, and it's like chaos and mayhem. And I'm like, that's not what a solar flare does for me anyway. I mean, I don't know. I
It
know that they
wants to
do
create
affect the
stardom.
electronics in a different way, an electromagnetic way. We do get glitches. Yesterday, our phone, your and my phone were glitching back and forth.
Hmm.
And I was like, I literally was like, all right, this is
We
a sign that we're
are actually
shifting.
like shifting a timeline like
Yeah.
at that spot. And actually, that's actually going into what we would like to get into. Yeah, the Mandela effect and the shifting of timelines. Like literally, as far as I'm concerned, the Mandela effect is proof that our timelines have shifted and we have timelines. And the reason I say that is because as of late, actually yesterday, I saw this TikTok and she was talking about, um, help me out here. What was it? I may have to just play it right now because here, let me see if you guys can hear
What
it.
were you talking about? Australia?
Yeah.
The capital of Australia? I always remember it being Sydney, but I've heard
But
recently that it's not.
yeah, Canberra is the capital of Australia. So please put down in the comments if you've ever heard of Canberra, Canberra. And if you Google it or ask your Alexa or whatever you use, Siri, whatever, it's going to come back Canberra. I've never heard of that in my life. I come from a timeline where the capital of Australia is Sydney.
Yeah, that's what I remember being taught in school.
Sydney was the capital of Australia. That was one. Bob Barker's death. I don't
Yes,
remember because
I
so many.
I heard about him being dead, and now he's alive. Apparently, I
He's
just watched
not.
a special on. I just watched a special on The Price is Right, and do you know what the production company name of that special on Netflix was called? MK Ultra. MK Ultra was the name. It came across the screen, and I was like, "What? That's the name of your production company of this video?" It was the dumbest special on The Price is Right or whatever.
My God.
Um, and it was like such a waste of my time to watch it, and I was like, "What?" But that poked out at me, and I'm like, "What? The MK Ultra? What are they trying to do?" And then Bob Barker was on it, and I'm
Yeah.
going,
Holy
MK
crap.
Ultra and Bob Barker and the Mandela Effect, including Bob Barker. Like, that's interesting. Like, I don't
I'm
have any
beside
definitive
myself.
information.
This is funny. Like I asked my husband yesterday because this is shit. Like I'm like, do you remember? Like he's like, I thought it was Sydney or Brisbane. Now I've had two people say Brisbane, but I don't know what that is either.
Yeah,
So
I've never
I'm
heard of that
like,
either.
somebody is saying, okay, so there might be multiple capitals,
Well,
which
and
is
people that live in Australia, I'm sure they know more definitively than we do from their point of view. Because they live there. Maybe it's always been that. But us being in America, we remember being taught something different.
yeah,
So this is not to say that that the capital of Australia
yeah,
has
but that
changed.
doesn't go
But
for ET home
yeah,
phone. No, it's
yeah,
ET phone
ET
home.
home phone, ET phone, phone home.
It's
Yeah,
phone home. It's phone home. ET phone
yeah.
home. That
And Luke, I am your father, and now it's
And your
no, I am your father. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Do you have a list of them, and we can just kind of go over?
no,
Oh,
there's
you did.
no list. This is how
Oh,
we're doing it because
okay.
we need to just I went on to her TikTok till I could remember, but he said home phone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, the other one was Michael Jackson in Smooth Criminal. Now, I have been, and also Alien Ant Farm did a remake. So I don't know.
You've been touched by a smooth or something like that, right?
Struck,
But now
it's
you've been hit by, or struck by,
hit
or
by.
something.
Yeah, it's hit by, and then you've been struck by. No, it's not anymore. It's not. I'm like, huh? I am like, okay, all right. But see, the other thing that we have to remember now, I've like companies like, back in the day, we had companies like GTE. Now, those companies had changed their names to like Verizon, and also companies rebrand themselves. So they'll get a new logo or they'll change something. Okay, so you have to watch out for that too, because rebranding also does happen. But
Yeah.
you can't go back and have people die and then they're alive and then
Yeah, well, that's how the whole thing started. And I mean, I guess where I want to start with this is that the Mandela Effect started because um, people believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison,
here.
and then years later he was alive, and so there's a mass misremembering of people remembering him die in prison, and so that's
Yes.
what started this whole
Yeah,
ball in motion. Is this
actually.
mass misremembering many people. And now some of these things could be just, we just remembered it wrong. But the fact that there are so many people that will swear up and down that things were a certain way and now they're not is what we're talking about here. So there are some
Now,
things that, they could be debatable. And I
okay.
definitely agree with that. But for instance, when I watched the movie with Sinbad, the genie movie, Shazam,
Yeah.
I remember scenes from that as a child watching the boy and the girl in the garage. There were boxes all around and they were standing around having like a fight in the garage. Now, when I watch the movie Kazam, it's one boy and it's a warehouse and there's a bunch of boxes and it's Shaq. It's no longer Sinbad. So now, now you get into it, and Sinbad has admitted that he is embarrassed by the movie or something like that. Maybe that's just his way of admitting that there's a timeline. I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can get into it, but I remember that movie. A lot of people remember that movie, and the fact that I can remember the scenes from the movie because I have like an photographic memory.
Yeah.
So when I remember something, I remember the scenes, I remember the pictures, I remember the way that it was,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine a girl that disappeared in a movie. You know what I mean? So there were two kids, a boy and a girl, and I remember she had her hair up in it was blonde hair up in a half up, half down ponytail. She was wearing some kind of like jean colored um outfit or vest or so. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember it in my mind. And so now they're saying like there was some kind of commercial or, now Sinbad's possibly admitting to it or I don't know. But it's very interesting to me that there may have been a movie, there may not have been a movie.
Well, here,
Um,
this is
yeah.
what, if you Google it, when you pull up Google and you type in the Mandela effect, what is the Mandela effect? This is what comes back. The Mandela effect refers to a situation, and this is from verywellmind.com. The Mandela effect refers to a situation in which a large mass of people believes an event occurred when it did not. The term was originated in 2009 by Fiona Broome after she discovered she, along with a number of others, believed that Nelson Mandela had died in the 80s when he actually died in 2013. So right off the bat, if you're Googling things, please don't. That's not the best way, because obviously they have a narrative and a reason why they want us to doubt. That's called gaslighting, by the way. That's literally gaslighting,
Well,
and to
they've got to
deny
stitch it
us.
together. They've got to stitch it together and make it reality. They've got to narrate it in a way that
Well, they
will take it and then we'll try to rationalize that that's the truth as opposed to what we're experiencing.
right,
So
exactly.
you have to use discernment with Google, with any search engine, with any platform, anything. You have to use discernment because of course there's going to be a narrative to try to cover up. And my opinion on this whole, my theory, is that, that, and I just got a mind blank. So I guess that's telling me to shut up right now.
Oh yeah, that's okay. But like, so we have Luke, I am your father. We have Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. If you watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, this is on this list here, on that website.
Magic mirror on the wall. Now it's mirror, mirror, right?
No, it used to be Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. I remember it as Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
Yeah, me too.
Who's the fairest of them all? But it's Magic Mirror on the Wall? No, it is not.
That's what they're saying now, that it's Magic Mirror.
Oscar Mayer. Yeah,
Oh
Oscar
my gosh,
Mayer.
I sing that song. I sang the song as a kid growing up,
but now
and
it's
I sing it wrong.
M-A-Y-R.
Everybody that I've ever known has sang it wrong. What is the supposed spelling of it? Mayer. I've always sang
when we were growing up.
Yeah, I've always sang it Meyer. I'm not going to sing it for you guys. My singing skills are, above par, but I'm not going to share that with you guys because I don't want to hurt your ears. And I like you guys too much to torture you in that way. My husband and my daughter are the only ones who get to enjoy that. And
I can sing. I'll sing for you. Okay. But no, no, thank you. But yeah, so also the location of New Zealand. I never heard of that. The location of New Zealand, if you look at a map, you will see the southeast country. However, there's a community of people who claim to remember New Zealand being on the northeast instead of the southeast.
Yeah, I remember it on the northeast.
It's on the southeast?
Yeah, I remember it northeast. And apparently that's New Guinea or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think there's something about Madagascar too.
Well, the next one on the list is Berenstain Bears. Remember Berenstain?
Yeah.
It's Berenstain now. It's not. It was Berenstain when I was a kid.
That's the thing. Like, when I was a kid, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I remember it one way, but it doesn't really make sense. It could have been. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing that I'm like, I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's a huge one for people.
Yeah. Pikachu. Pikachu had a black tip on the tail. And the reason I know that is because my daughter, my oldest, watched it religiously every day. She went to Pokemon.
Video game on my Nintendo 6. It was a Nintendo 64. I know, the old Nintendo. And I used to play the video game, and I love Charizard. But yeah, I'm an old Pokemon freak. Don't tell anybody. Back in the day when I was like 13 years old. This is back in like the 90s. So sorry, guys. I'm officially a Pokemon.
They're called false memories. And I hate to say this, people, we don't have false memories.
No, we have memories from the timeline that we came from. We have memories from the dimension that we came from. And that's when we're talking about timelines, we're talking about dimensions. We're talking about different dimensions of reality. We all live on, and Dolores Cannon will say that there's thousands of different dimensions, and we're all interchanging. We're all coming together, coming apart. So these quote unquote false memories are true memories from the dimension and the timeline that we came from.
Don't let them gaslight you. Don't let them gaslight you.
So shit's weird. Going back to my theory, and I'm remembering it now, my theory is that in 2012, and this is totally speculative, this is just a theory, don't take this as truth, okay? This is just my feelings, and my intuition is telling me there's something here. In 2012, when the Hadron Collider was turned on, they found that black hole, and boom, that whole dimension just went boom. And we all shifted somewhere completely different. And so for me, that's why we're experiencing this Mandela effect. That's why, what was it, in 2013 that Nelson Mandela was alive? So right after that, then he's alive. We shifted to a different timeline where he was alive. And I'm getting chills as I'm talking about this. So maybe that dimension in 2012, when the Mayans were predicting that end of the world, whatever, maybe it wasn't the end of everything. Maybe it was the end of that dimension that we were in, and we all shifted somewhere else. And right now, we could be anywhere. We could be on a spaceship. Sorry to get a little weird, but we could be on a spaceship all asleep right now. They could have seen this thing coming and put us all to sleep, and we could be dreaming at this moment. That was
in an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was actually an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., actually several episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was a scenario in their in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where the agents were in a simulation and they were being put in to try to wake each other up in the simulation without causing like trauma or like and it was like interesting and triggering, and that was kind of right before I was waking up, but it was kind of part of the reason why I woke up when I did, because everything just started to add up. Everything started to add up, and that's why I woke up, because I started thinking critically and using my own discernment and not just letting people tell me what to do and how to think.
I think whatever happened in 2012, it happened fast, and they didn't have time to put everything together correctly. I think that's why we see so many glitches. I think that's why we see so many of these Mandela effects, things that aren't adding up, because whatever happened, they had to hurry up and put it all together real fast in this matrix. And this matrix is not well formed. Let me just say that's why we're seeing so many glitches through it. That's why we're able to that's why we're experiencing this Mandela effect thing, is because it was shoddy work and it was done quickly. And I think now they're coming up with these false narratives to try to cover up shoddy work.
But also we're ascending, because I mean ultimately aside from their narratives, we're ascending, period. And we've been ascending for a while now.
I think
very
it's
slowly.
it gives us the ability to see through the falsehood, where maybe you had this timeline shift not happened in 2012 or whenever it happened, because maybe each different person had a different timeline shift. You know what I mean? Maybe this is just for me personally. Maybe that was when my timeline shifted, because that's when I started.
And there's waves, actually, just like Dolores Cannon said, there's waves of us. And so some of us are getting hit because we were already prepared more than others. So, I mean, it's not a good or a bad thing. It just waves, and emotions and energy move in waves, just like the ocean moves in waves. You can just picture it hitting you in waves. And that's how Ascension is hitting us. It's hitting us as waves over.
It kind of reminds me of grief, like the grief cycle. It comes at you a little at a time, because we can't handle all of that all at once. It's too much, and so you have to go through the stages of grief. Well, this is kind of these stages of ascension, and the Ascension symptoms are kind of similar in that way, that you're getting it in those waves. So you can only handle a small amount of it at a time, and we have to break apart a little bit of it as oh my gosh, can't even talk. A little bit of it at a time, and that the sun is helping us break that away. The energies that are coming at the earth are helping us. Wave after wave of these solar pulses are pulsing and clearing and pulsing and clearing a little at a time.
Divine energy from pure source. When we talk about life force energy, that's what we're talking about, source energy. Okay, so there's not like demonic. I mean, the demonic energy has been keeping us asleep for a very long time. Okay, you've got to understand that there has been a war for our consciousness. Your very perception has been hijacked, because they don't want us to ascend. They like the way things are. We're basically cows, and we go to work every day. We're just cattle. Okay, so what we're doing is, the divine plan is to come in through us. And that's why the star seeds came in waves, like Dolores Cannon was talking about. So we came in to help others absorb this energy that's coming in from the sun. It is a divine plan that counteracts the dark plan. Okay, so you've got to understand that there is a battle for our souls. And I have shared videos on that. Please scroll through my previous videos, because I've been speaking out since 2020. Because I've been called to speak, and that's why I'm here. So, yeah, I don't know which direction my guides just took me in. Sorry, but I'm kind of just tapped in at the moment.
No worries. I just stubbed my toe and blew my nose, so I'm on the other end of it.
Back to being human. I know I'm like floating out in space right now.
Well, that's something that we've been working on, is staying balanced with being grounded and also flying high at the same time. And so we can't just stay in the crown chakra all the time. We have to stay.
I love it there, though. See why?
I know, and I want to be on this high all the time. But when we're that way, we can't relate to the people that are, that
Our
are needing our
husbands help
help.
us ground a lot. I mean,
Oh
I
my
know that
God.
they use anger. They do. They use anger to keep us grounded a lot because we all just float around, what's going on? And be up there all the time. But our kids, our husbands, our family, our lives,
Oh,
they help
my
us
daughter
ground.
definitely keeps me grounded. I can't stay
Mhm.
in the heavens all the time and in the euphoric
Go with me. Do
field
you want
all
to
the
go?
time
Hey.
because my daughter comes along and she's like, Mom, I need you," and I'm like, "Okay, all right, fine,
Yep.
fine, I'll stop meditating," and
At
she's
their
got
beck and call.
yeah,
I'm
she
at their
does.
beck and call every time.
I know she does a lot of the spiritual stuff with me too, and she's definitely an enlightened child. Then that's the kids coming in now are closer to the
Very
source.
high vibration. In fact, that reminds me actually, or my guides gave this thought to me to share. When I first got awakened in 2020, I went and I got an appointment with Daniel Scranton. And I was very intrigued with Daniel Scranton.
Mhm.
And he's very intense. For a lot of people can't handle the way he tones before he channels, but that just gets him to his vibration so he can channel. That's just his way. But anyways, I chose him to have my first appointment. So I talked to him about the kids because my concern was what was going on with what was going on, and in 2020, all of it. And I shared that with the Arcturians and Daniel Scranton. And I was like, I'm really concerned about these kids. And they're very high vibrational. They're very advanced beings. They know exactly what they're doing here. They know already. And my daughter, I can tell she knows. Her consciousness is there intact. However, I'm just here to help her live in this world that we live in.
Well,
That's why we're
and they
here. We're
also
here
are
to
going to
tell them.
forget a lot of that too. The older they get and the more attached to this world they get, they're going to forget. And
Oh no,
hopefully they,
not
they hold
anymore.
on to some of it.
Not
Hopefully they hold
anymore.
on to more of it than we did.
Like us. Not like us though. No,
No,
not
I
like
don't.
us at
I
all.
don't think like us. I hope anyway that they're not going to have to go through the same things. But you know what? They signed up for whatever they signed up for,
Yep.
and that's. I've raised my daughter in a way that I like to call like free range parenting.
Yeah.
I want her to bump her head. I want her to not to get her hurt, but so she
Make
can learn her
make
lesson.
mistakes.
I
Yeah,
want
make
her to understand independence and to understand that, she is a free person. She has her own choices. She can make up her own mind. And watching her and listening to her talk and
Mhm.
watching her play and listening to things that she says are amazing. We're at dinner the other night and she's sitting there and she's telling me all about God and how it works and all of these things. And a few nights ago, we're looking up at the stars, and she says, "Do you see that star? Do you have a dad, or does Dad have a dad that's up there? That because somebody's dad's winking at us." And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, "Both of our dads, both mom's and dad's dad are up there." And she said, "Well, they're up there and they're winking at you." And then she proceeded to tell me that when we pass on, we go to the stars and we become stars and we watch. And we came from the stars and we become stars again, and then we can come down if we want to. Um, but just hearing that from her, and I don't tell her anything. I don't, I let her watch what I do, but I don't teach her anything. I let her see what I do, but I don't put anything in her head.
Mhm.
She says to me all the time, "Mom, we used to go to church. Why don't we go to church anymore?" And I said, because we find our own church wherever we want. God is with us wherever we are, and so we don't have to go somewhere and just allot a small amount of time for God. We don't devote just an hour. We devote our entire lives. Our every moment is about God. And
Ah,
so we can have church at any moment. We can have it in the forest. We can have it on a trail. We can have it in the backyard. We can have it in the hot tub. We can have it in bed when we're laying down. We can have it at school. There is no limitation on where we can have our quote unquote church because it's always with us. And so, she'll ask me questions like that, and I'll just give her my experience with it, but I let her make her own decisions. I
yeah,
think that's important for
exactly.
her.
I think honestly, from a person that was forced or not forced, well, yeah, kind of forced because I was raised in it, and I didn't have a choice. I had to go, and I listened to the indoctrination, and I accepted Christ into my heart at 6 years old, and I was baptized, and I did all that in the Southern Baptist, way of living, and I had to break through literally mountains of programming in order just to be here today. Literally, like my parents had to die. Do you understand? Like,
Mhm.
I was not going to wake up until my parents were gone and crossed over. I would not have, because I even was like out in left field and my mom would always reel me back in. And I'm like, fuck, now I look at that like, you really do want your kids to make their own decisions. You don't want to force them into that stuff. If they don't want it, then let them be. I don't know. It is what it is.
Well,
I knew that. I mean,
for
they
most,
know they picked them too. So, I mean, they know that that's their path. So, you got to understand that they already know they have planned that for themselves. I planned that for me.
well,
And
and
I
I'm so
needed that
grateful that my
foundation.
daughter chose me as her mom. I mean, how
Yeah.
awesome is that? That to know that we came here and that we chose the people that were going to be in our lives. To know that my beautiful daughter chose me to be her mom and to guide her and to show her how to
Girl,
live.
she's
I mean,
been
that's
with you.
awesome. I'm
She's been
so
with you for
grateful.
so many lifetimes. You have no idea how many lifetimes she's been with you, or
I
Alan
know,
for
and
that matter.
my husband too. Oh my gosh, I know. I've had a starseed reading done, and we what I've been or what I've communicated with him and his higher self is that we love to be with one another, but we also love our time apart, so that we can come back together and that we can be grateful for one another because it when you're with each other in each incarnation, it gets tiring. And so we've made an agreement that we come together and then we go our separate ways and then we come back together. We experience an incarnation separate and then come back together. And in some incarnations, we experience them together, but not consciously together, if that makes sense. So we're still together. We're just not both in awareness, both in, and so
Mostly you're
we're,
not because of the
yeah,
veil. I mean, when we come in, we don't know who we are. We
yeah.
fight. We Most people are not. And again, that freaking set, whatever it is I said on Facebook just blows me away because just to be conscious today, you have no idea how miraculous that is. I mean, honestly, look at what we have fought through lifetime after lifetime, being killed, our throats, slit, being hung, being burned alive for speaking our truth. And here
Yeah,
we
well,
are
that's why
putting
I'm working.
ourselves on fucking YouTube.
That's why I'm working on throat chakra healing right now, and it's coming up. That's what I've been working on is solar plexus and throat chakra, and it's not just from this lifetime. That's why I'm experiencing these symptoms is because I'm breaking up, lifetime after lifetime of suppression of the patriarchal suppression on my masculine side, and then also with the feminine side too, because we've had to
Both.
be quiet. So it's on both sides. So
It's both.
my breaking this is not just for my physical self in this life, it's generational. It's for all of my family, for myself. It's for all of my incarnations, for all my past lives and parallel lives. I'm working through all of that in this incarnation. So yeah, it makes sense that I'm going through having a runny nose and my throat having the tickle in it and I'm coughing and all this stuff because it's
Yeah.
literally coming up, and I'm grateful to see it happening because I know that there's movement. I know that it's coming up. I know it's got somewhere to go now,
Yeah,
and
let your
once it's
body
out, it's
let
out.
your body be. Oh my gosh! While you were talking, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 3, 3, 3 twice. I got 33, 33 on the clock. I'm just like, holy crap! While you were talking, like, oh my god! And this again, that ties into last time, our last episode where we were transmuting, and that's the truth. Like, we literally are transmuting all of that stuff through our lineage, and I have Native American lineage as well as Scotland. I mean, just imagine the trauma that we're just dealing with,
Yeah.
just
Well,
those
I've
two,
got I've got Viking and Gypsy. Think about the genocide on both sides of that. The
both
genocide
sides. Yeah.
of being the one persecuted and the one doing the persecution. You know what I mean? Being the
Yes,
violent
both
one and
sides.
also being the
Yes.
one that's hunted, the one that's I mean gypsies. Oh my gosh, our history has we've had to hide. We've had to be on the move. I like the nomad lifestyle. I wish I could do that now, but it wasn't a choice. It was a
No, it wasn't.
necessity.
We
It was
had
a
to survive.
necessity. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. We had to live on the run, and we weren't allowed to be a part of society. And so now when I claim being gypsy in this day and age, people are like, "Oh, that's so cute." And it's like, "No, you have no idea what my ancestors have had to live through." And not that I need any reparation for that. And I'm not asking for that.
No,
What I'm saying is that we've been through trauma in our lineages. And so our
all of
role
us,
here
all
is
of
to
us.
heal. Yes, we need to heal that. So not one line is better than another or worse than another. It's that there's trauma on all sides. We've been the persecutors, we've been the persecuted, and so we need to heal the trauma from both of that. We've been the bad guys, we've been the good guys, and that comes back to the law of one, is seeing things from both sides, seeing things from being the one that was the abuser to the one that was abused. And we chose those roles so we could experience both sides of things, so that we could
Yep.
come to a better understanding and an empathy. We don't no longer want to be the persecutor. We no longer want to be the persecuted. We want to live in peace. And a lot of our other people that are around, they're still in those roles. They're still wanting those experiences, and that's okay. And I'm coming to terms with acceptance of that, because I can't help everybody, because not everybody's here for help. Some people
Yep.
are here to experience pain, and they've chose that for this lifetime. And so when people are talking about, well, what about the mother that's lost their child? What about the person that's being abused? Or what about this? Or what about that? And not to say that, it's not terrible, but that's the experience that they wanted to experience. And I don't have a place to make a judgment on that any longer. That I have to come from a place of love and understanding and forgiveness for the things that are happening. And I do feel the pain that comes from a lot of those things. And when I feel that pain, my role is to transmute that pain and to
Yep.
bring it into love, not to judge it, not to come from a place of, well, that's terrible and that's wrong, because it's where I used to be. And in doing that, I'm causing division. So now I come from a place of neutrality, and I look at it without judgment, and I say, you know what? This feeling feels a certain way to me. I like it or I don't like it. And
Yep.
regardless of whether I like it or I don't like it, it just needs to come to the light. And that's it. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. It's all going
Yeah.
to the light.
It needs to be, what is it? When we're fighting to be, I don't know, what is it? I'm trying to say. We're like not perpetuating that energy. Like, okay, it's very sad. Yes, it is. And I feel that it's a tragedy, and I can empathize with that. And I feel that. And instead of perpetuating that energy, I'm going to transmute it, like you said, and change it to the light, instead of just saying, oh, yes, it's terrible, and just going along with the narrative of it's bad, it's horrible, it's terrible, which it is. It is. I'm not going to say it's not, because it fucking is. To lose a child, to lose a parent, to lose anybody is a fucking tragedy.
Or
And
to experience abuse at any kind, murder, sexual abuse,
yes,
rape,
abuse,
all of
all of
those
them.
things. Even down to the stuff that's going on with the evil entities below the
Yeah,
earth and all of that. I can sit there and I can go, oh, that's terrible, and feel horrible about it. But that's not my role in this life. My role is to send light to the people who are experiencing these traumas. Is to send them love, to send them God's love and God's light. That's it. That's it. Not to judge them, not to judge the people that are hurting other people, not to judge the people that are being hurt, but to send all of them the same light, regardless of where they are. And that's what
yeah,
I
and
do.
yeah. Honestly, that's how. And honestly, forgiving, is the people are like, how can you forgive someone who raped you? And I'm like, well, I've forgiven the people that raped me.
Yeah.
I was raped. I'm just going to go through this real quick here, because I know that it's a trigger. So sorry, it is triggering. Just skip to the next chapter if you like. But because I'm going to talk about a trigger here. So like when I was, the first time I was raped was a friend of my sister's. The second was a bus driver for Greyhound, because I got on the wrong bus to South Dakota and I ended up in Calexico. And the guy helped me, but of course he had to have his payment, I guess. Anyways, I was only 17, for God's sakes. I didn't want to fucking be there. I had made a mistake. Anyways, the next person that came to mind was the army men who were in a limo who went ahead and did that. And I was like, and they were in the army, like the US military, like,
Doesn't have any
and
it doesn't
they
have
were
any.
dark skinned too. Not that it's they're all dark skinned, but I've had a lot of experiences with darker skinned, unfortunately. And then I had a boyfriend that raped me with his son in the next room, and I was screaming for him to stop. You know what I mean? Like, I've had to deal with that. So how do I forgive somebody who's hurt me so badly? How? Because they fucking suffered too. They got to deal with the karma of hurting me. I'm a light being. I was an angel here sent from God, but we had a contract to have an experience, and they got to suffer too. And that was their suffering, is that they never get to tell me that they're sorry for their actions. I will never be able to forgive them in person. And I don't even know how I would act if I got to see them, like, especially my abuser, Donnie. Like, I was scared of that guy, and he literally kicked my ass for no reason, just to keep me under his thumb. But how do I forgive these people? And I forgive them because I personally don't want to carry resentment.
Yeah, because
I
we want to.
don't, yeah, I don't want to carry resentment. I don't want to carry anger. I don't want to be that person. See, I could be a hurt person to hurt other people too. But see,
And we
I
and
don't
then we
want,
perpetuate it.
yeah, that's perpetuating
And
that energy
forgiveness
instead of
is ending
transmuting.
the cycle. Forgiveness has nothing to do with condoning their actions. It's
Done.
about ending the cycle. It's about saying it ends with me. This trauma
Yep.
ends with me. And I don't carry it to my children. I don't carry it to my next incarnation. I don't carry this karma. I don't come back as the abuser because I was the abused. I don't have to go through that anymore. I choose to forgive it, because in this life, and this is my belief, in this life, if we hold on to that resentment against those people who have harmed us, we're going to come back as those people who are harming other people. And so I'm forgiving it as a choice so that I don't incarnate in my next incarnation as the abuser. That's just my feeling on it. I'm not saying that that's what happens. I'm just saying that that's my feeling on it, is that I don't want that to be a chance. So I'm transmuting it and I'm forgiving it because I don't want to continue that cycle of incarnations. I don't want to keep this abuse cycle of karma in my line happening in the next life. I don't want to come back as the abuser because I was abused, if that makes any sense.
And the thing else I wanted to touch on, when you were talking earlier, is yes, we've been the bad guy. We have been men. We have been women. We have been black. We've been native. We've been English. We have been French. We have probably been galactic. Of course, we've been galactic aside from
I
being
know I
human.
was a star at some point.
So, right, exactly. So when you also look at that as well, you came in into this lifetime to be on whatever end you chose to be. Okay, so you could have been the person that was the perpetrator, like you said, or you've been the victim. It's a choice that you make before you come here. We've been the good guy and the bad guy. I mean, we have been the rich guy and the poor guy, or the woman for that matter. We have been all of that. We've been
Well,
here for so long.
and I
People don't
watched a
understand.
psychic.
We're
I
ancient.
watched a psychic on a friend of mine from this new Reiki group that I go to. She turned me on to the Jeff Mara show, and
Mhm.
he just interviewed a psychic, one of England's most renowned psychics, and she was talking about how when we go back up to heaven, or up to the ethereal, wherever we go after we leave here, that we go up there for generations, and that we get bored with the peace and the serenity and the euphoria, and then we want to come back down and we want to experience these things, and so we choose these things. So it was really interesting. So if you guys have heard of Jeff Mara, go watch his last podcast. I cannot remember her name, but she it's the England's most renowned psychic, or one of the renowned psychics, one of his
Yep.
last podcasts. But it was really good. I really enjoyed that a lot, and it explained for me a lot of the things that and kind of put together a lot of the things. And that's the thing, is that I come to my own knowing, my own understanding of things, and then I get confirmations from other people that have experienced similar things. And um, confirmations from people that are going through very similar things.
Yeah.
So, that for me is saying, okay, well, I'm not off in left field. Some of these things could be real. Some of these things are real. All of these things are real. All of it's real, and it's all illusion at the same time. So, it's all what you want to believe. But, we're definitely not crazy, because there's a lot of other people that are out there that are experiencing the same things that we're going through. Now, a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people don't know what's going on. The majority of the people in my life look at me like I'm a lunatic and I'm insane, and they don't know how to react to me. They're either calling me crazy, or like my sister, she's trying to be sweet and calling me starseed all the time. And I'm like, I don't know if you're trying to be cute. Um, you know, like, I think she's trying to relate to me. I don't, whatever. It is what it is. It's just coming from a level of non-understanding. And I'm coming to acceptance with that as well, because the whole waking up process and being alone and dealing with everybody thinking that you're crazy and calling you crazy and dealing with mental illness and all of that stuff, it's hard. It's hard, but your truth. That's the thing, is that we can't come out of it. You know what I mean? We can't come back and say, okay, let's live in the 3D, let's live in the material world again and be okay with it. Once you're awake and you start waking up, there's no going back. And trying to go back is painful. Going
Yeah.
back to sleep is I want to say it's an impossibility for me.
You can't do
No.
it. It's like this, and this is a universal law. And it has to do with your vibration and frequency. Your consciousness, as you raise your vibration, you're just more conscious. There's no way and you can't go back down an octave. I just talked to that someone else either. Once you raise your octave up, there is no going back. You can't lower your level again. That's impossible. That's not how God created things. Okay, when you
No.
vibrate higher, that's it. You go higher only.
And that
So,
causes a lot of issues with the relationships with the people that are still in the 3D world. And so you
yep,
find that a lot of these people will fall out of your life. And that's hard when you're married to someone
yeah,
who is living in the 3D world. And so, trying to relate to my husband is difficult. It's hard. But the thing that keeps me holding on is that I have a connection with his higher self. His higher self does exist, does communicate with me. There have been moments of clarity when he's woken up, when he's gone back to sleep. He wakes up and goes back to sleep, and that's part of his waking up process. Is he puts himself back to sleep with alcohol,
well,
and
yeah,
he's
exactly.
doing that.
They're plugged into the matrix, so they still
Mhm.
believe that there's no false memory stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're continuously being gaslit, and
By
the
themselves,
truth is,
by
there's yeah.
themselves, they're
Well, it's
gaslighting
because of their
themselves.
programming. Well, it's
Yeah.
their programming and their conditioning, and also because they have priorities, and they worry that if they stop doing what they are doing, then we're going to fall apart. And that's God's honest truth. And that's a fucking huge responsibility if you think about it, that they put on themselves. But it's their choice, it's their programming, and it's their conditioning. But
Hmm.
I did want to touch on that because there's no false memories. And the thing is, it goes in with the Mandela effect. Yeah, things have changed. Okay, trust your gut feeling because there are no false memories. Anything that comes to mind has come to you for a reason, and they expect you to brush it off as nothing because of our programming and conditioning and our constantly being plugged into the matrix. They
Oh, I
don't
know.
want to lose you.
I
They don't
mean,
want
look,
to lose you.
look at it. I will look at Venus and Jupiter in the sky, and I'm in awe. I'm in amazement. I just want to stare at it for hours. My husband will come outside for 30 seconds and say, "Oh, it looks the same as yesterday." And I'm going, "What? Are you
Mine won't even look.
crazy?
He won't
Are you
even look.
crazy?" He comes out for 2 seconds and
Nothing.
he's looking at it and he goes, "Oh, okay, it looks the same as yesterday." I'm going, "It's changed by X amount of degrees. They're so much closer together." And tonight, when I look at it, they're going to be closer together tonight. And so I'm just taking videos of it every night because, for my own view of it. But it's beautiful. It's amazing. All of these things that are happening outside of us in nature are it's God. It's source. It's so beautiful to
Yes,
watch.
in the
You
car,
know,
if you would go on a car ride with me. It's, oh my God, look at that cow. Oh my God, look at that sheep. Oh my God, there's a horse. Oh my God, look at this guy. That's how I ride in the car. So you
I
cannot be in
know.
the car with
And,
me.
and they're like, so what? So what? And I don't get it. I'm like, this stuff is so cool. It's so amazing. And they're like, and
Well, mine does like the great outdoors. I'm gonna be honest. Mine likes to be on the road. Mine likes to be out in the open. And right now, mine is. I'm hoping he's following his dreams right now. And I'm like really, really, really supporting this because, and like you said, we it's good. Like he leaves all day. He's gone all the time. And then when he comes home, because I honestly, yeah, being around him 24/7 would
Yeah,
not
I
work.
can't handle it.
Not
I
work.
can't. No, my husband just went to Utah and came back, and I had him do a little mission while he was out there with
Mine
crystals
would
and
never
putting
do
them
that.
in the ground. I
You're
know.
so lucky.
I sent him with a bag full of crystals and black salt for his own protection. He didn't know. He thought he was leaving that there, and I was like, no, bring that home. That's to protect you while you're gone. But he's like, what am I going to do when airport security, when TSA looks at all this stuff and they ask me what it's for? I said, tell them that your wife loves you very much.
Yeah.
And so he went out to Utah and he buried these crystals in the ground at one of these pillars, these activation points through Rick Jewelers that he was doing. And then the next day there was all these lightning strikes. There was immediately a blizzard and a snowstorm right after. And I'm going, that's an energetic shift. um you know, and I know that we had a part in that, and the fact that it was the twin flames, the divine union, working together, even though my husband was doing it unconsciously, not knowing why he was doing these things, getting him to physically do these things for me with my intention behind them is powerful.
Is.
And it changes things between us. And it's so funny because we have our fights, and I've mentioned it before in our podcast that listen to your heart song comes on whenever we're having disagreements, whenever we're fighting, and for some reason that song will play and it will remind us of our day in the sun. And we're fighting on Sunday. We were fighting, and I come home and he's being passive aggressive, taking jabs at me, and I just start bawling. I just start bawling, and he looks at me. He's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Because you're just so mean." And I just, I'm so emotional. I don't really cry that often, but most of the time I just get angry. And my guides told me, stop getting angry because he sees that as a fight, as war, and let him see you vulnerable. And so I started crying. And then all of a sudden, Alexa started playing Listen to Your Heart. And he hugged me. And my daughter came over, and the three of us hugged each other. And finally, those walls broke. And he remembered. And we came to a place again of unity. And so it's this constant back and forth that is a distraction, but I have to listen to my guides and stop trying to fight it, because they're there and they're ready to tell us that everything's okay. We're not There's no need to fight. Um, and the reason that we're fighting is because he was sick and he was traveling and he was withdrawing because he was going through some stuff. And so I felt a disconnection. When I feel a disconnection, I want to pull. I want to pull on him. And when I pull on him, he goes further away. And, it's not until we come to a place of, where he's ready to connect again that I feel okay again. And I've got to work on my masculine stuff because I can't be dependent on him all the time for giving me connection. So that's me having to go inside, and that's why on Sunday, that morning before, I went and had a Reiki session, and yesterday I had another Reiki session. This is me working on my inside, and then the outsides smooth out. So while they're smoothing out those energies on my physical body and the masculine stuff that I'm holding on to, and the pain and the triggers and the traumas and stuff, then I watch my relationship change on the outside and it smooths out. So, it's a crazy
Yeah,
ride.
like yeah, you're right. And I remember I was trying to help walk you through that a little bit too. And then Sunday morning, we left early and we were on the road to go to NASCAR, and um it was so cool. I'll talk about that maybe, I'm not sure. But anyways, on the way we kind of got into a spat, and it was funny because it was over something really trivial. I, of course, like we were just talking about, I always like to take pictures. I take tons of pictures. I take tons of pictures all the time. And so we had my Pandora playing plugged in, but every time I took a picture, it would turn off the Pandora. And
Isn't that
he's like,
so
that's
annoying?
why it's turning off. And I was like, no. And then I was like, Actually, yeah, I did that. So he got all angry, but I was like, why are you angry? I'm wrong. So what? Let me be wrong. It doesn't mean that you have to react. It doesn't mean anything, and I just stayed calm the whole time. And he was just so fucking pissed. And then I just was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything and we'll just go. And, and that's me. I swear to God, that made me jump a timeline. Like I swear to God, because
Yeah.
after that, it was like, because of my reaction or non-reaction, it was a completely different trajectory, and it could have taken a bad turn. It was basically a fork in the road, you guys. Just any probability you can imagine out in the quantum field, But if you make the choice, the conscious choice to not perpetuate that energy, if you could just step back for a second and take a deep
And
breath
respond
before
to it instead of
reacting.
reacting.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
respond by
Don't.
reacting. Just take a
Yeah,
breath and
we need to respond to it in a different way, and that's what you and I have been working on, is our responses to the situations and how to transmute them. Because before, we would get into these big fights and want to leave, and or they would leave, and it it just turned into chaos. And now we're trying to find different ways to make
well,
our
that's what
relationship.
we're
Yeah.
run. Just run away. I don't know how many people have told me to leave him. Oh, just
Yeah.
leave him. Oh, just leave him. Break up with him. Oh, you're not meant to be. Oh, you're
Well,
whatever.
and
Bullshit. I
part of
would
my
not be.
artwork.
I
Sorry.
wouldn't be where I am. No, that's okay. We wouldn't be where we are if we ran. We wouldn't
Yeah.
be as learning as much as we are right now. So honestly, thank God that they're so fucking mean, so we can learn how to not react to that, because we need that in the future. You think we're not going to be opposed when we take and put ourselves out there? I mean, honestly, of course we are. We're going to have opposition. And all this is doing is preparing us
Yeah.
for what's to
Strengthening us.
come. Just
Well,
take it as a learning experience. Okay. You can
and
have the floor.
okay, sorry. I know we like to talk over each other. But
It's okay.
what you helped me with on Saturday night, when Alan and I were having our fight, was to, instead of fighting with him, to transmute that energy. And so what I did is I lit all my candles. I made a crystal grid on my altar. I burned some Palo Santo. Well, first I burned some sage, because I needed to clear all that dense energy that I was holding on to and that was going on with him. And it was funny, because when I burned the sage, the dogs went to the door, because they know that the door needs to open when I'm burning sage. So they go to the door and he opens the door. So he's not even consciously assisting me in my ceremony. And so he opens the door to let the dogs out and lets the dense energy out. And so I light the Palo Santo. I'm lighting my altar. He slept in the other room with my daughter. They made a little pallet, a little fort on the floor, and had a little camp out in the living room on Saturday night, and I had my little ceremony. And what I did after that was I took a picture of him, I channeled some light language, I put it all together, I made a mandala, and when I looked at the mandala, I could see the source of what was going on with him. And it wasn't him. And that's the thing, that I'm learning, is that these are the negative entities that are coming to try to attach to us, because we've put up our shields, we've put up our protection from the denseness and the dark, and so they come through our men to try to attach themselves to them, and then attach themselves to us through sexual relations, and so they can get to us that way. And so I'm seeing all of this in the mandala, and I was sharing that with you as well. That I'm seeing these faces of these dark, I want to say ancestral traumas and energies that have been created through past traumas, and they're all attached to him, they're attached to me, and they're trying to come through us, and try to affect me now and trigger me. And so, but actually seeing them and then working them through my artwork is the way that I transmute them. So bringing them into my awareness and then shining the light on them, healing them, bringing them into a higher light. And then when I was making the artwork, all of a sudden I see this giant star come out of the artwork that looks just like the light in my near death experience. And I shared that all over Facebook. And I was like, this is what I saw in my near death experience. It was the light. I was in the light. So in all of this, I'm in all of my mandalas that I'm making, in this transmutation process that I'm doing, all of a sudden out comes this picture of God's light. And I'm going, we are so loved. Like, he's right there. he, she, it, whatever, it's right there, and it's me, and it's been with me the whole time. And so all of these denseness and all this fighting and all of this stuff, it's, you know, just bring it to the light. And that brought me to a place of feeling good, you know, feeling really good.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first things I learned when I woke up was spiritual healing and the creation of thought forms. And that's basically how they get us, because we have a very powerful receiver in our brain called the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, both of them. And they both work together very closely when it comes to our third eye and stuff. But anyways, they're always under attack as well, like fluoride and stuff like that. Anyways, so where was I going?
Well, that brings me into what I was doing this morning. I put a turmeric paste all over my forehead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, seriously, like Ash Wednesday, they put that crap right on your third eye for
Yes,
a
I was
reason.
thinking about that. That's funny you said that, because when I was putting the turmeric on my forehead, I was doing it in a spiral, because for
Yeah,
me the cross is limiting. The cross is it is
like
it is a
stops here.
bondage. It is a
Yeah,
bondage. It is about binding.
it's
and
binding.
and the spiral for me is opening. So where I've had years of Ash Wednesday put on my forehead, of ashes put on my
Yep.
forehead, now I'm using other things in a spiral pattern to open. So whenever I see someone doing the sign of the cross, I do a spiral on my
Oh,
forehead now.
oh yeah, I
Um,
remember now the thought forms. Yeah, so they are attached. They come at us through our third eye. That's how they get us. They can send thought. We send thought forms. We don't even know we're sending thought forms. Like, for instance, someone cuts you off and you get angry with them and you yell in obscenity. That is sending a thought form to that person.
and you're
So,
attaching yourself through negativity to them, creating a
well,
cord.
that person is, yes. And that's why we want to watch how we speak, especially in English, because English was set up. Um, and that if you don't have positive intentions, it's basically black magic.
It's a spell.
And that is a whole episode in itself. But English was created, and if you notice, English is all around the world. There's generally English is pushed everywhere, and there's a reason for that, because it carries black magic if you don't have positive intentions. So you have to set intentions. It's so important that instead of saying curse you person in front of me that cut me off and I had to slow down and darn you, instead
Mhm.
of saying that, say bless you. Even if you don't mean it,
Well,
just God bless you.
even if you think about the word bless, okay, I've heard Rick Jewers explain this, that it's like a form of saying be less than me, like that you are less than me.
Oh,
And so,
really?
yeah, so
Interesting.
when somebody says God bless you, that they're saying God be less than you. So
Oh,
it's almost like they're taking away your power in saying God bless you. So now when my family calls me from Florida and they're like God bless you, and I'm like, ugh,
please don't.
shield,
No,
shield,
no.
shields up. I don't say God
Yeah.
bless you when people sneeze anymore.
Thank,
I don't,
thank you for
I
teaching
don't
me
do that.
that.
Yeah, that's it's just something that sticks out to me when I hear the word
Thank you,
bless,
though. I just
because
learned something about that, so I'll never use that again. I'll just send love bombs. I send
no.
love bombs. I love sending love bombs,
Well, that's why
and
I like light language, because it has no, is pure intention. It is pure intention. Just babble something weird, and it is pure intention coming out of your mouth. When I'm
I talk to my
scribbling,
dogs.
yeah, when I'm scribbling, I mean, and it's funny because my aunt taught me light language. My grandfather always talked. He talked in gibberish. He was Romanian and Hungarian, and he talked in part Romanian, part gibberish. And so I remember things growing up, and I don't know whether it was Romanian or whether it was just words that he made up. And you go and scratch his back and be like cha 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 cola cola cola, and I'm like, does that mean anything? And it just, I don't know if it actually meant anything, or if he was just saying that felt good. But I have integrated that into my own light language. Mine is more written as opposed to speaking, because I think I have not gotten to the security, feeling safe speaking it in front of other people. But I have had my experiences with verbal light language. But writing it, it's just literally symbolic. It's just symbols and it's intention, and it has no no spell behind it. It's not connected to anything else. It is just literally my own intentions written down. And so when I do my art and I incorporate those in there, it is just straight codes and intentions of love or transmutation or whatever that intention is. And it usually comes out beautiful, and it's funny because those intentions show up in the artwork.
Exactly, it does. And just like when you spin it into Mandela. And that's so funny because when I first woke up again with because I had so much download to me all at once. So I'm
Hmm.
always referring to 2020, sorry. It's just when everything came to me. And it's like I said, I've been trying to decipher it not trying to, I've been deciphering everything that downloaded to me in 2020 over the past few years, and I'll be downloading it and deciphering it probably the rest of my lifetime, but it all came to me at once. So
Hmm.
it's like unpacking. I have to
Yeah,
unpack it
I
and in
had a
my
lot of the
mind.
same too, and
Mhm.
and I thought I was insane. Like, and
Mhm.
now I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, that's what that meant. Like I had a lot of stuff happen. I was there was one day where I was taking a nap in the sun, and I had a literal feeling of being impregnated. And I went that night in the bathtub, and there was no baby, of course, but I went through the birthing process, the physical pain of birth, and it took me forever to figure out what that experience was. I thought I was crazy, and I
Mhm.
went through the thing with the in Revelations where it talks about the woman giving birth, and the dragon trying to eat the child and stuff. And when somebody, a friend of mine that I shared it with, because I don't generally share that experience now, I don't mind, but in the beginning I thought I was just insane. And so when I shared that experience with somebody, a friend of mine said that I was remembering a past life of possibly what happened with the Immaculate Conception. Maybe that's how it happened. I don't know, but I got to experience that all at once, and I was like, whoa, that was really cool.
Yeah,
But I thought
exactly.
it was crazy. I mean, we
No,
go through these things and they don't make any sense to us. I'm like, why do I feel like the sun is, impregnating me? Like, what the hell? But I think we're getting these little bits of truth of past, and maybe it wasn't my past life. Maybe I was just getting a view into seeing, what could have occurred. But I don't think it just is Jesus or Buddha or whatever. I think this happens more than we're aware of. And the experience that I went through is that's how angels are born. Is that they don't come through. They have to come through the divine feminine portal, but they don't come in physical form. And so the sun is impregnating these divine feminines, and they're going through the birthing process, whether they're aware of it or not. And we're creating
mhm.
that host of angels. So
Int-
anyway, that's just a
Interesting.
interesting
I
experience that
love
I've gone
looking.
through.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I love learning. And and that just reminds me of like I've seen like Light Codes by Ayla, Althea. I can't remember her. I think it's Luceria. I can't say her last name, sorry. But anyways, I've seen like her even doing her energy work. And hers is more galactic, but nonetheless, um I've seen her do anyways. It is. They almost have like it's like healing of the womb, I want to say. Like you went through a womb healing
Yeah.
ceremony and the sun helped you do that. And that's what came to me like when I'm thinking about it, because like
Mhm.
if you go to these ayahuasca retreats and other things, a lot of times people are processing things very similar to what you described, and they're doing it in a ceremony though, because or facilitated is what I
Well, and
mean.
that's the thing, is that we can have these ceremonies just by sitting in the sun, just by healing in the sun, and the sun is showing us.
Intentions too, but it's
Yeah.
like your guides gave you that, like it was probably more of a gift to you. It doesn't seem like that, but because of
Yeah.
our human views.
Oh
But
no, absolutely. The thing is that I felt that night before I went into the bathtub and had that process, I felt angels on my stomach, like their hands holding my stomach,
mhm,
and like I felt all of them. All of them. I could see them, I could feel them. Like every incarnation of angel that could exist was there, and holding my stomach, healing me through this process.
yep,
And I mean, that's the kind of thing that you can't deny. That wasn't insanity. That was a divine experience. That was a ceremony. That was beautiful. That was a healing experience,
Yeah.
whatever it meant. I don't know, whatever it means, I don't know, but it brought me into connection with my guides. And I have, I talk about Archangel Michael. He's so beloved to me because he was the first one that was there. And it was almost like this was part of his process, in intertwining with me and showing me and teaching me and loving me. And he's been by my side ever since that day.
Yeah.
And he's probably been by my side before that, but to the point where I was aware of him, he's
Yeah,
been
and
by my
this is
side
why
in my
it's so important, you guys. This is why it's so important to believe the memories that come up, believe the thoughts that come up that resonate with you, and you can
and
tell.
don't try to define them and understand them, because there's no earthly understanding of any of that.
Yeah, there's no.
It sounds
Yeah,
insane.
our human mind is very finite, if that makes sense. It's very limited, and we forget everything when we're born here and as a human. So, I mean, us even talking about trying to remember is just miraculous. So, but anyways, yeah, I mean, what else?
So anyway, way
Yeah,
off topic from the
trust your
Mandela Effect, but
feelings. No, it's not. It's not, because the Mandela effect is basically trusting your thoughts. Remember, we need to remember that. Trust your memories. You remember that Sydney was Australia's capital back in the day. Like, I know for a fact because I was really good in school. Like, I had good grades for a very long time because I chose, at the time, I shut all my gifts off, and I did my best to focus until high school.
well,
Yeah, I made it to
what's
high
weird?
school.
Talking about school, I went to Catholic school, and I have all of my school records, and I looked back and into my school records, and in kindergarten, they were testing my quantitative abilities, like my quantum abilities. I have a test that, and I was off the charts for my quantum abilities. And I'm going, why in Catholic school in kindergarten are they testing a 5, 6-year-old on their quantum abilities? And then right after that is when I had a lot of turmoil, a lot of trauma happened in my family. My parents getting divorced and things like that. So it's almost like they were scouting, like to see who's capable of doing these things in the quantum field at an early age. And so they're putting traumas in their life to stop it from happening. Isn't that interesting? Like to think
Yeah,
about.
interesting. Like, I've never heard of a quantum ability test. I'm going to be honest with you. I
Yeah, I
was in
could find
public
the
school,
paperwork for it.
completely public school all my life.
Yeah, I
So
could look for it.
interesting. I had to go. I'm Googling. I already use Google all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I do for most of the stuff except for esoteric things. Just
Yeah,
basic human
Ascension
knowledge is
Glossary.
pretty good.
Ascension Glossary is my new Google. It's my new Wikipedia. AscensionGlossary.com. Anything that I have a question about when it comes to spiritual, it's like it's all there. I
Good.
love that. I love that website. It's probably my favorite place to go to if I have a spiritual question.
Yeah, tell me again.
AscensionGlossary.com.
Ascension. I'm gonna write it down so I can put it in the description. Hold on one
Yeah, it
second.
is definitely a good go-to for what to do and what things mean.
Yeah, psychometric assessments. Like, why would you need to do that? That's interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
it is weird, and the fact that I look back on it, what, another weird thing. I won't get into this today, but there's just a lot of weird stuff. Let's just
Yeah,
do
we'll
that.
get into that. Yeah, upcoming. I think, yeah, we should probably wrap it up. But
Yeah.
I feel like one more thing here. I find it very interesting that when I first woke up, that I was downloading from a being that told me their name was Kaleidoscope, which is basically a Mandela.
Hmm.
Which is basically a Mandela. And I'm putting the two things together. Like, maybe that is like tied to the Mandela energy.
Well,
Like,
Mandela and mandala, they're two different words, but they're very closely related, and I find that interesting.
trust me, I know I speak only mostly English. I mean, very little, tiny, muy poquito español. But like, it's
Yo
English.
también.
Yeah, thank you. But like, yeah, so I very little, and mostly everything else is English, and English ruins words and intentions and everything. So, yeah. I say things English and in California English,
Well,
like
that's
literally.
why a lot of the time when I'm doing my spell work, I don't speak. It's
Yeah.
all intention. Our presence is all the intention that we need. And when you're working from a certain chakra or your heart or whatever that feeling is and that emotion, feel that feeling. Don't put a word on it. It doesn't need a word. It just feel that feeling, work that into your magic, and do your ceremony or your spell or whatever it is that you're doing, and you don't necessarily need a word, you know what I mean? Like for me anyway, my presence and my willpower are strong enough with my intention to make that happen, and the words can kind of jumble it, so I don't really use words. They can be helpful at times, but my intention, I find, is strong enough, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. And I'm gonna get my singing bowl really fast. Let me see here. Because I was thinking, yes, like on Sunday though, I wanted to kind of share that a little bit as I'm getting my singing bowl out. I was at NASCAR for the first time, and I
Oh,
gotta
I'm
be
sure
honest.
that the sounds can be disruptive, I'm sure.
Are you kidding me? I love that sound. Shoot, the louder the better. That is like, I love it. And I was thinking, and I was like, gosh, what pitch is that? What pitch is a NASCAR motor in? Like literally
You're
super
funny.
high vibrational. And then you're there with a whole bunch of other people, and they're like there with their families, and everybody's like happy and the
See, and
energy.
that shows you intention right there, because when I go to car shows with my husband, and it's funny that our husbands are both car guys, but when I go to car shows with him, like, I do not like the loud noises. It drives me crazy. So there's intention right there. You went there and you love it, and it was joyful for you, but I go there and I don't like the sound, and it's not joyful for me. So
But there's
there's
also
your intention.
earplugs. There's earplugs, so you don't have to
Yeah.
hurry because we gave the kids earplugs because we were right on track. We got to go to the infield because of my husband's work, and he was helping. He helped someone fix their RV that was already on the property at the race. But they let us go with them where they were on the infield as basically to help us out, and he was able to bring us along with him. So it was awesome. The whole deal was just totally the universe doing for me what I couldn't, because originally my husband was going to leave for the whole weekend with his friend in Northern California by himself. And I was going to be here alone with the kids as usual, like I am all the time. And I was really bummed about it. Like I couldn't, and it's not that I didn't want him to go, because like I said, I wanted him to go and have his masculine time and figure himself out and all of that. So I had been cutting cords and attachments, and then this blizzard came. And totally
Yep.
killed
You're
that because
welcome.
they were in the
You're
God said
welcome.
no. So there was that. And then
Hey, look at that. My work intervening in your work.
then I got to go to work at the NASCAR race and take my light and my love and everything and affect everyone that was around me and
I
just share my
know.
joy.
Don't you love that everywhere you go, you can literally take your bubble and expand it and affect everyone in your field.
Everyone around me it had awesome energy after I left. I'm telling you, because I was so happy. I was like jumping up and down. It was awesome. It was my first race, and it was like my highest excitement. And because of that, I literally shifted a fucking timeline.
Yeah, I feel like it. I
And
definitely
that's
do.
how
And
that
I think that you guys needed that too, that bonding experience as well, to kind of come back to
we need to
center.
remember who we are. We've been together since we got back together in 2012. We've been together for this entire shift. It has
I know
not been.
2012 is when Alan and I got together too. So the whole timeline shift. I mean, and the Mandela effect. It all goes, like, it's all hand in hand. It's funny that
Yeah.
it's all in that same time frame. You know,
Yeah.
when the world's supposed to end, and our whole worlds that we've created
And
now
that's when I got pregnant with Zoe. It was around 12/21, 2012 is when I got pregnant with Zoe. And I wasn't expecting that. I had, it
So
had been
maybe
prophesied to
had the
me.
timelines not shifted, we would not have met them. We would have not been on this trajectory. You know, um, I don't know.
But
You know, maybe
divine
there's
timing.
different
But divine
yeah,
timing.
maybe there's different versions of us out there where we're single and we are on different paths. I don't know.
Yeah,
So I'm glad to be on this
there's a
one.
million. I mean, if you there's an infinite probabilities in the quantum field. Every
Yeah.
single movement you make, every single time you decide to get up instead of sitting, every single thought you think of creates energy or thought forms or whatever you want to call it.
You're
It's
saying get up and move, and I'm dancing now.
yeah, and honestly, like now you're flowing with that energy, but in another one you didn't move, or whatever the case. One probability you went left, and the other you went right. It's just I mean, I saw a film on the quantum. I can't remember what it was called, but it came out in the 90s, I think, late 80s or 90s, and it was about quantum physics. And I remember just being so intrigued with it and going, how could I ever understand anything like that? I just couldn't understand the concept at the time, but here I am.
Now quantum physics just seems like easy to understand. Like it's like, how do I know any of this? How does that make sense to me?
Because you and I cross paths, we have quantum entanglement. And just like my husband and I, we have quantum entanglement now, because we not only have met, but we have perpetuated our relationship by putting it on YouTube. And on BitChute as well. So I also put these videos on BitChute. And they're also on Anchor on the actual podcast, which is on Anchor. It's also available on, I believe, Spotify and wherever else podcasts are available. So it's everywhere. But
all right. Well, with that, I think I'm going to. It's 1:44 here.
Yep.
Night. It's 1:44 and I'm dancing. Anyway, sorry, I'm a little spastic sometimes.
That's
but
good.
That's good. Yeah. I love it. I don't mind. I don't care.
No, we're good. We're going to wrap it up here.
Full weirdo, and I'm glad that everybody's here. That Joy and I got to spend some time together, and hopefully.
Let me tap this singing bowl that's in my lap. Hold on one second. Let's wrap it up. I'm going to do this for a few seconds here. Hang on one second. Let me see what's best here. Got rid of anything in the energetic fields, if you allow it to anyway. Your intention matters. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Joy, and peace and love and light to everybody that's here listening, if you've survived it this long.
Yes. Thanks for listening, and we love you. And to get in touch with us, it's in the description box. That way we can share the love.
Yes, absolutely. We're here to spread joy and Becky.
It goes like PB and J. Fucking.
God, we need help.
I love it.
Love you. Good
love
night.
you too. Bye, guys. See you next time.